Sunday Scaries, it is time to, unfortunately, once again, have our weekly Kyle Pitts conversation. One catch for 25 yards. One catch.
I mean, you know, do Lawrence Jackson and I need to do like a WWE wrestling video every week? Like, I thought we solved this last week. We finally did. Mariota was awful.
7 completions.
But here are the tight ends with more fantasy points than Kyle Pitts in PPR. Tyler Conklin, Will Dissly, Mo Alley Cox, O.J. Howard, Colby Parkinson. Kyle Pitts is hands down the biggest disappointment in fantasy football this year. His upcoming schedule: Tampa Bay, San Francisco, Cincinnati, Carolina. Now, we saw Kelsey have a huge game last night. You can attack the middle of the field against Tampa Bay. Mariota was bad. So the question is, at what point do they go somewhat different? The weird part is Atlanta won that game. I mean, that's the problem. So I think feels like you got to keep, because of the route participation, because it's such an ugly mixed bag out there, you probably still got to keep rolling him out there. But I'm definitely not dropping him, but, and he's no longer a must start. But I do feel, as insane as it sounds, I do feel like he's too talented. Better days are ahead for Kyle Pitts.
All right, moving to another tight end, Darren Waller.
I mean, it's maddening.
Darren Waller has had a tough start to the season. 3 catches, 24 yards. Just doesn't seem to be involved in this Raiders offense like everybody else's, and that's counting Mac Hollins.
He's averaging just 6 targets a game, which is down from the 8.5 that he averaged last year as well. Each of the last 2 games under 25 yards. I'm hoping that, so they play the Chiefs next week and then they've got a bye. So I'm hoping that maybe through the bye they figure this out. He's too talented, and they're 1-3. They need Darren Waller involved if they're going to go anywhere this year. The positives are they're looking for him in the red zone, right? He's gotten 7 red zone targets so far through 4 games. That's nice here. What I would say is that both with Kyle Pitts and Darren Waller, the analysis is sort of the same. Is that the idea that they were going to be top 5 fantasy tight ends, I think that's, at least at the moment, out the window. Having said they're more touchdown dependent, they're more like, I hope it's a good game. But their skill set is such that they have a better chance at a good game than some of these other sort of randos, that you're kind of hoping like, oh, what do you know? Colby Parkinson, caught one or whatever, right? I just, hey, anyway, so I feel like they're less of a sure thing, but then unless there's an available sure thing at tight end, and there aren't that many, like I do think Gerald Everett is legit there, but other than that, I don't think there's a lot. So in terms of guys that might be available. So you're probably just continue to start them and hope for the best. Unfortunately, they're now you're starting this tight end and hoping for the best territory with these guys, whereas before you're like, oh, that's not a problem.
Moving over to wide receiver, Michael Pittman. We know how much of a letdown the Colts offense has been. Unfortunately, that has now trickled over to Michael Pittman. 3 catches, 31 yards.
Yeah, he was on the love list. I thought he would eat against Tennessee. I just didn't understand what an absolute horrific disaster Matt Ryan would be.
I don't think anybody saw this coming.
I mean, sack after turnover after turnover after sack after he looks old.
He looks bad. The line stinks.
Yeah. I mean, that's the other thing is I think we thought the line would be good, and the line has been bad. It's just been bad. But here's the thing. Through the 3 games that he's played, remember he missed the 1 game in week 3, he's got 28 targets. He's still getting a massive target share. Matt Ryan, for all of his ineptitude, he's top 10 in pass attempts this year. I mean, they're throwing a ton, and especially if Jonathan Taylor's going to miss, it's not going to be as efficient, but just volume will get you there with Michael Pittman. This was a weird game. It should have been better against Tennessee, and you don't love this matchup on Thursday night at Denver. But I'm not bailing on Michael Pittman yet. I still think he's a top 15 fantasy wide receiver. I think just bad day at the office for a really talented guy.
All right, moving on to Terry McLaurin. Your Commanders, 2 catches, 15 yards. We know they are throwing the ball a ton, but for some reason, McLaurin's target share is just down this year.
Yeah, I mean, they have other weapons, right?
Yeah,
Curtis Samuel, John Dotson, Logan Thomas is back healthy. They're using the running backs, of course, and McKissick and Gibson. But what's positive here, Carson Wentz ranked 2nd in pass attempts through 4 games. They play Tennessee, the Bears, and Green Bay, and then Indy. So 3 of those 4 defenses coming up don't scare you. I think better days are ahead for Terry McLaurin, lower end wide receiver too, but he's too talented and they're throwing too much. Again, same with Pittman, just bad day at the office against a tough defense.
Gabe Davis, 1 catch, 13 yards. Jamison Crowder out with a broken ankle. Gabe Davis, he was out there, ran a million routes, was in on every snap. It just wasn't a big productive day for him.
Yeah, it was a weird one for him, and I wonder if maybe this ankle injury that is hampering him a little bit here, right? But I feel like better days are ahead, especially given the fact that we've gotten news that Jamison Crowder out with a broken ankle. You expect an increase in production from Isaiah McKenzie, who scored in 3 or 4 games. Now, remember, he left Week 4 with a concussion. We'll see how he's now in the protocol. We'll see how that goes for Week 5. Gabe Davis is, again, too talented. It's one game, or it's been a couple games here with Gabe Davis. Pittman, McLaurin, Gabe Davis. I'm not panicking with any of them, or Amari Cooper, who I know had a brutal day. But, again, he's been good 2 of the last 3 weeks. I'm hanging tough with all of them. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and RotoWorld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, okay? Respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from RotoWorld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.